Breaking Free from Broke, The Ultimate Guide to More Money and Less Stress, by George Kamel. Narrated by, you guessed it, George Kamel. Dedications. For Whitney, my radiant beacon on foggy days, my co-captain keeping our ship afloat, my heart's compass pointing me toward love and truth. For Mia, this book made me an author, but you made me a father. And that's the only title that will ever matter. You will teach me more than any book ever could. For Olive and Blue, the furry duo that kept me company with snorts, farts, snores, and barks. Thank you for reminding me that the best life is simple and that dog ownership is really expensive. Introduction. Average sucks. When the whole world is running toward a cliff, he who is running in the opposite direction appears to have lost his mind. C.S. Lewis. It's December 15th, 2021, and I'm standing in my front yard staring at some dead grass, which I often do, as if the longer I stare, the more likely I am to bring it back from the dead. But something is different about this day. This day, it is my dead grass. I own every blade of it free and clear because my wife and I have just paid off our mortgage. Whitney and I were 31 and 32 years old respectively, and I never thought we'd be here. I thought paid-for houses were mythical unicorns reserved for retirees, rich people, and trust fund kids with inheritances. Not for the little guys like me, who didn't learn about money growing up and made money mistakes with several zeros on the end. In the 3rd grade, Mrs. Plunkett asked us what we wanted to be when we grew up. I, of course, wanted to be an astronaut. I had recently picked up a copy of The Adventures of Mary-Kate and Ashley, The Case of the U.S. Space Camp Mission from the Scholastic Book Fair, and I was totally sold on the idea of exploring this great frontier. In hindsight, I think 8-year-old George was just excited about the idea of floating in zero gravity. Still, a noble goal. In the 4th grade, my plans changed dramatically. I got my first electric guitar and decided I was destined to be a rock star. Now, back in those days, you could supposedly be whatever you wanted to be. As a millennial, I grew up in a generation where everyone was special and we all got a participation trophy, even if our soccer team never won a single game. Season after season. I had different goals back then. I had different fears back then. I went through a phase where I was genuinely concerned about the Bermuda Triangle and quicksand. Both turned out to be much less of a problem than anticipated. Nobody warned me about the real problems, like money problems, that would drag me down, quicksand pun most intended, in adulthood. The not-so-average George. Like none of you, I grew up as an Arabic Baptist, pop-punk-loving skateboarder in a mostly Irish-Italian Catholic suburb of Boston, Massachusetts. I was fascinated by money at a young age, especially once I figured out how to get some of it. My dad would give me $1 to go up to random people at church and say something in Arabic. I had no idea what these phrases meant, but they always got a laugh. And the bonus, I was $1 richer every time. My dad and mom emigrated from Egypt and Syria, respectively, to the U.S. back in the early 1980s. My brother and I were born stateside, and my parents worked hard to get good jobs and give us a good life. They adapted to American culture very quickly, including its money culture, where everyone was encouraged to use other people's money to buy stuff with shiny plastic cards offering virtually unlimited dollars. I learned that a high credit score meant you were crushing it with money. I learned that the secret to getting a cool car wasn't having the cash to pay for it, but being able to negotiate the financing to get a good deal and manage the monthly payment. What did I do with all this learning? I financed my way through college using Sallie Mae's Monopoly money. All I had to do was sign the dotted line, and the money was mine. I had no idea what the interest was or what the payments would be. I just figured that at the end of the obligatory college degree rainbow was a pot of gold that included a dream job and a big old salary. And it wasn't just me thinking that. This treacherous trail of hyped half-truths was sold to my entire generation. And it's still sold today by college marketers, student loan companies, and well-meaning guidance counselors and parents all over America. What I can tell you is, Ignorance was bliss.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?